Here go Karlissa right on schedule. She said, what sign is my son's new friend? I'm trying to see something. Why does it matter what sign she is? Like, she swear every girl that Blueface get with, she got to see if they worthy enough for him.
It started with a question, not a threat, not a diss, just a question. And somehow, that question detonated the internet like someone pulled the pin on a gossip grenade. Because when Karlissa asks about you, it's never innocent curiosity. It's inspection. It's evaluation. It's the verbal equivalent of a side-eye that lasts way too long. And this time, the target was Stunna Girl, the moment Blueface's new romance hit daylight. Karlissa didn't waste a second playing nice. She didn't congratulate. She didn't ignore it. She leaned in hard. Suddenly, she wanted to know details, personal ones, zodiac sign type details, and if that sounds harmless to you, congratulations, you haven't been paying attention to how this family operates, because in this universe, asking about your sign isn't astrology. It's reconnaissance. The internet caught it instantly. Screenshots flew. Comment sections ignited. Memes were born within minutes. People weren't asking what Karlissa said. They were asking why. Because when a mother with receipts energy starts sniffing around her son's new relationship, history tells us one thing: this isn't curiosity. This is chapter 1. The moment Karlissa's question hit the internet, it didn't land softly. It didn't float by like harmless curiosity. It slammed into the timeline with the force of a nosy ant at a family reunion who somehow knows everyone's business before dessert. Because when Karlissa speaks, especially about Blueface's relationships, it's never just commentary. It's a signal, a warning flare, a reminder that no romance connected to her son exists without inspection. Blueface going public with Stunna Girl already had people buckling up. This wasn't a low-key relationship announcement. This was two volatile personalities colliding under bright lights, with cameras already rolling and fans already picking sides. But just when the internet thought the drama would stay between the couple, Karlissa stepped forward and shifted the entire energy. Instead of celebrating, ignoring, or staying neutral, she got inquisitive, personal, specific. She wanted to know Stunna Girl's zodiac sign. And that's when people realized this wasn't small talk. This was evaluation disguised as astrology. In this universe, asking about someone's sign isn't about horoscopes. It's about vibes, compatibility, control. It's about figuring out whether you're dealing with a fire starter, a manipulator, a wild card, or someone who's going to clash with the family dynamic. Karlissa didn't ask, is she good for him? She asked something far more revealing. She asked who Stunna Girl is. And once that question was out there, the internet did what it always does. It overanalyzed everything. Screenshots spread like wildfire. People replayed the moment, zooming in on tone, timing, and context like it was footage from a crime scene. Was Karlissa joking? Was she shading? Was she testing boundaries? Or was this the opening move in another long-running family feud that never really ends? The answers depended entirely on who you asked. But one thing was undeniable: Karlissa had officially entered the chat. And history matters here. Karlissa has never been passive when it comes to Blueface's relationships. She's commented before, inserted herself before, spoken freely when others would have stayed quiet. To some, she's protective. To others, she's intrusive. To the internet, she's entertainment with a microphone. So when she got nosy about Stunna Girl, people didn't treat it as a one-off comment. They treated it like the first domino. Stunna Girl, of course, is no stranger to controversy herself. She doesn't present as shy, quiet, or easily intimidated. Her public image is loud, unapologetic, and confrontational when necessary. That's exactly why the pairing with Blueface felt combustible from the start. Two strong personalities, both used to controlling their narratives, stepping into a relationship already under surveillance. Add Karlissa to that mix, and suddenly, it's not a love story, it's a pressure cooker. What made the situation even messier was the timing. Blueface's romantic history is already layered with public breakups, ongoing drama, and unresolved tensions. Every new relationship gets compared to the last like it's a sequel nobody asked for. So when Karlissa started asking questions, people immediately connected it to past situations. They wondered if she was preparing to take sides, or worse, preparing to interfere. The comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Some people defended Karlissa, saying any mother has the right to be curious about who's dating her son. Others dragged her for inserting herself where she wasn't invited. The word boundaries started trending in spirit if not in hashtags, because the real issue wasn't astrology, it was access. Who gets to comment on whose relationship? And how publicly, meanwhile, Stunna Girl became the center of speculation without saying a word. Her personality was dissected through the lens of zodiac stereotypes, fire sign jokes, compatibility memes. People acted like knowing her sign would unlock some cosmic explanation for how this relationship would end. Because the internet loves pretending chaos can be predicted if you just check the stars, Karlissa's nosiness didn't just spark gossip, it reframed the entire relationship narrative. This wasn't just Blueface dating someone new. This was Blueface dating someone who had to pass through the court of public opinion, with his mother acting like the unofficial gatekeeper, and that dynamic alone made things uncomfortable. Because once a parent becomes a character in the romance, the balance shifts fast. What really escalated tension was the underlying tone. Karlissa didn't sound impressed. She didn't sound neutral. There was an edge to the curiosity that people couldn't ignore. It felt like assessment, not interest. And that's where the sarcasm online exploded. Memes popped up suggesting Karlissa was building a compatibility chart. Others joked she was checking red flags like a background investigator. Laughs aside, the subtext was clear. This wasn't about bonding. It was about control. Blueface's silence during this moment spoke louder than any comment. He didn't jump in to shut it down. He didn't clarify. He let the conversation spin. And that absence created space for assumptions to grow. People wondered if he agreed with his mother's approach, or if he was already used to this level of involvement and didn't see it as strange anymore. Either way, it didn't help calm the waters. As for Stunna Girl, the situation placed her in a tricky position. Respond, and you risk escalating the drama. Stay silent, and others speak for you. Every option had consequences, and the internet watched closely, waiting to see if she'd clap back, shade, or ignore it completely. Because in this ecosystem, reaction isn't optional. It's expected. By the end of that first wave, it was clear this story wasn't about a zodiac sign anymore. It was about power, perception, and who gets to define a relationship before it even has time to breathe. Karlissa's question opened a door that can't easily be closed, and once opened, it revealed just how fragile this romance already was. Under public pressure, the moment the internet realized Karlissa wasn't backing off, the temperature changed. This stopped being a casual nosy comment and started feeling like the opening act of a much louder performance. Because Karlissa didn't retreat, she didn't clarify, she didn't say, "Y'all took it the wrong way." Instead, she let the speculation breathe. And when you let speculation breathe online, it grows teeth. Memes exploded overnight. Suddenly, astrology timelines were flooded with jokes about compatibility charts, toxic traits, and pray for Blueface captions layered over screenshots of Karlissa's curiosity. People weren't laughing because it was funny. They were laughing because humor is how the internet processes discomfort, and this situation was deeply uncomfortable. A mother sizing up her son's new partner in public is awkward enough. Doing it with an audience of millions turns it into theater. Then the reactions started rolling in from adjacent celebrities and influencers who live for moments like this. You know the type. Vague tweets about letting grown men choose their own women, cryptic posts about overbearing parents. Nobody named Karlissa directly, but everyone knew who the shoe fit. It was passive-aggressive chaos, and it poured fuel on the fire without ever taking responsibility for the flames. Stunna Girl's name started trending for reasons that had nothing to do with her own words, people, analyzed her past interviews, her public persona, her clapbacks from years ago, trying to predict how she would respond. Would she snap? Would she laugh it off? Would she drag Karlissa in a way that turns this into a full-blown family war? The suspense was thick because Stunna Girl isn't known for staying quiet when she feels disrespected. And yet, the silence stretched. That silence did something powerful. It flipped the script. Suddenly, Karlissa looked louder, more intrusive, more exposed. Because when one side stays quiet, the other side's words echo longer. Every replay of Karlissa's curiosity felt sharper, more intentional, more strategic. People stopped asking if she was joking and started asking what her endgame was. The outrage split into camps fast. One side insisted Karlissa was just being a protective mother, curious about who was entering her son's life. The other side accused her of sabotage, saying she was setting the tone early, making sure Stunna Girl knew she'd never fully be welcome. Both sides were loud. Both sides were convinced. And neither side was willing to budge. What really escalated things was the pattern recognition. Internet detectives love patterns more than facts. More than facts. They pulled up old moments where Karlissa commented on Blueface's past relationships. They compared tones, timing, wording. They said, she does this every time. Whether that's true or not didn't matter. Once a pattern narrative takes hold, it becomes reality online. Karlissa wasn't reacting to this relationship. She was repeating history. According to the court of public opinion, Blueface, once again, stayed suspiciously quiet. And that silence didn't read as neutrality, it read as permission. People started questioning whether he enjoyed the chaos, whether he let his mother play bad cop while he stayed clean. Others argued he was just used to this dynamic and didn't see the problem. Either way, his lack of response made the situation feel unbalanced, like Stunna Girl was being discussed instead of spoken to. Astrology jokes slowly gave way to something sharper. People stopped laughing and started labeling. Words like control, manipulation, and emotional interference started circulating. That's when a messy moment becomes a serious conversation. Because once labels stick, they reshape how everyone involved is viewed. Karlissa wasn't just nosy anymore. She was being framed as territorial, over-involved, and willing to let her son's relationships exist without her commentary. And here's the twist nobody expected. Sympathy started shifting, not toward Karlissa, toward Stunna Girl. People began saying, imagine dating someone and their parent publicly analyzes you before you even speak. That resonated. Suddenly, Stunna Girl wasn't just a controversial rapper. She was the outsider walking into a family dynamic that already felt hostile. That shift in perception mattered, because public sympathy is currency, and it doesn't change hands easily. The memes evolved again. This time, they weren't playful, they were pointed. Jokes about needing parental approval to date Blueface. Comparisons to reality shows where mothers control the narrative. Some even said this made celebrity dating look like a job interview with no benefits and unlimited stress. The humor had teeth now. And Karlissa was the punchline more often than not. As the chatter peaked, one thing became clear. This situation had officially left the realm of curiosity and entered the territory of consequence. Karlissa's question had reshaped the relationship's public image before it had time to define itself. Blueface and Stunna Girl weren't being seen as a couple. They were being seen as a setup for conflict, and that perception doesn't fade easily. Every move from this point forward would be interpreted through this lens. If Stunna Girl clapped back, it would be framed as disrespect. If she stayed silent, it would be framed as weakness. If Karlissa commented again, it would be framed as escalation. The trap was set, and everyone could see it. The wildest part is how small the spark actually was. A single question, a moment of nosiness, and suddenly it exposed cracks in family boundaries. Celebrity culture, and how the internet feeds on tension. This wasn't just gossip anymore. It was a preview of how messy this could get if nobody pulled the plug. And as the noise hit its loudest point, the audience waited for the next shoe to drop. Because in this saga, Nothing stays quiet for long. The calm never lasts. And when things finally shift, they don't shift gently. They explode. By the time the dust started settling, it was clear this situation had permanently altered the way everyone involved was being viewed. What began as a nosy question had evolved into a defining moment, the kind that rewires public perception whether anyone likes it or not. Karlissa didn't just comment on a relationship, she branded it before it could even breathe. And once the internet slaps a label on something, peeling it off is nearly impossible. Karlissa's reputation took the first hit. To her critics, this moment confirmed everything they already believed, that she doesn't observe from the sidelines, that she doesn't trust her son's choices, that she treats Blueface's love life like a shared family project instead of a personal decision. Every past comment she ever made about his relationships suddenly felt louder in hindsight. People weren't judging her based on this moment alone, they were stacking it on top of a history that now looked suspiciously consistent. Supporters tried to reframe it as maternal concern, but the argument struggled to gain traction. Concern usually happens privately. This happened publicly, loudly, with an audience, and that difference mattered, because once a parent's curiosity turns into a public spectacle, it stops feeling protective and starts feeling possessive. That's the line many people felt Karlissa crossed. Even if unintentionally, Blueface didn't escape unscathed either. His continued silence became part of the problem. In the absence of clarification, people filled in the blanks for him. Some assumed he agreed with his mother's approach. Others thought he lacked the backbone to set boundaries. Either way, the image that formed wasn't flattering. He began to look less like an independent adult and more like someone perpetually orbiting a family dynamic he never fully escaped. That perception is dangerous in celebrity culture. Fans like chaos, but they don't like helplessness. And the idea that Blueface's relationships come with parental oversight didn't sit well with an audience that expects drama, not dependency. His refusal to step in allowed the narrative to harden, and once it did, it became another crack in his already complicated public image. Stunna Girl, meanwhile, experienced the most dramatic shift. She entered the conversation as a controversial figure and emerged as a sympathetic one, not universally, but enough to matter. People began seeing her less as a chaos agent and more as someone walking into a hostile environment with no roadmap. That reframing didn't absolve her of her past, but it humanized her in a way the internet hadn't expected. The silence that once worked against her now worked in her favor. By not responding immediately, she allowed the spotlight to stay on Karlissa's behavior rather than her own reaction. In a culture that thrives on clapbacks, restraint felt powerful. It made her look composed while others looked reactive. And in internet terms, composure reads as credibility. The relationship itself became collateral damage. Instead of being judged on chemistry or connection, it was evaluated through the lens of family interference and impending conflict. Every future interaction would now be read as a response to this moment. A post together would spark questions about approval. A disagreement would trigger theories about outside influence. The romance lost its innocence before it ever had a chance to define itself. What's wild is how quickly the internet moved from jokes to judgments. 1 minute it was astrology memes. The next it was serious conversations about boundaries, emotional manipulation, and toxic dynamics. That shift exposed how thin the line is between entertainment and examination. The same audience that laughs at chaos is always one step away from dissecting it like a case study. This moment also revealed something uncomfortable about celebrity families. When fame blurs private and public roles, parents don't just become parents, they become commentators, characters, influencers in their own right. Karlissa isn't just reacting to her son's life. She's participating in the ecosystem that profits from it. And that participation comes with consequences, whether intentional or not. As the chatter slowed, it didn't disappear. It calcified. People stopped arguing and started concluding. Karlissa became that mom, Blueface became that son. Stunna Girl became McGirlfriend, labels replaced nuance. And nuance rarely survives virality. The story didn't need new updates to stay alive. It had already embedded itself in public consciousness. What happens next is where curiosity lingers. Will Karlissa pull back, recognizing the backlash? Or will she double down, convince the internet overreacted? Will Blueface finally assert boundaries? Or will silence remain his strategy? And will Stunna Girl eventually speak, reshaping the narrative yet again? Every possibility feels loaded now because this moment set the tone. This wasn't a blow-up. It was a slow burn with long-term consequences, no screaming match, no viral rant. Just a question that revealed fractures already there. And those fractures don't heal quietly. They wait for pressure. They wait for stress. They wait for the next spark. The real aftermath isn't measured in tweets or memes. It's measured in how differently everyone is treated from this point forward. Trust erodes, expectations shift, and the audience, always hungry, waits for the next chapter like it's inevitable. Because in this saga, nothing ever ends cleanly. This story didn't explode. It settled into something heavier, something that follows. And that's the most dangerous kind of controversy. Now let's talk, because if you're still watching, this story did exactly what it was supposed to do. It made you feel something. Maybe you laughed, maybe you cringed, maybe you caught yourself thinking, yeah, that was a little too much. And that's where the real conversation starts. This wasn't just about a zodiac sign. It was about boundaries, control, and how fast curiosity turns into commentary when the internet gets involved. So don't just sit there acting brand new. Jump into the comments and say it with your chest. Was Karlissa just being a protective mom, or did she cross into territory that wasn't hers to claim? Did Stunna Girl play it smart by staying quiet, or is a response overdue? And where exactly does Blueface fit in all this? Silent observer or willing participant? Let's hear it. Because silence is boring and opinions keep this channel alive. While you're at it, smash that like button like it owes you money and just tried to deck you. It costs nothing, but it tells the algorithm this is the kind of messy, unfiltered breakdown people actually want. And if you haven't subscribed yet, fix that immediately. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because stories like this don't stop, they mutate. One comment turns into a controversy. One question turns into a full-blown saga, and we're always ahead of the curve. Share this video with someone who swears celebrity drama is not that deep. Let them see how fast small moments spiral when fame, family, and ego collide. Because around here, we don't just repeat headlines, we connect the dots they hope you miss. This is Celeb SYNC, where curiosity becomes chaos. Silence speaks louder than words. And every relationship comes with receipts. Stay locked in, because the next chapter is always closer than it looks.